Thank you. This is considered my testimony, but the truth is, this is a testimony about what Jesus has done, because without him, I wouldn't have a testimony at all. And it's so amazing what he has done through me. Just the fact that I could get up here in front of people, that's a miracle that came from Jesus, because I used to be the shyest person you can imagine. I've always believed in God, always talked to him, knew he existed. I grew up going to church. After getting married, we went to church together, Ralph and I, and our kids. If you asked me if I was a Christian, I wouldn't hesitate to say, yeah. But there was something I didn't know, something I hadn't been taught in those churches. I needed Jesus. And finally, back in those days, it seemed like everybody had an Aunt B. Well, my Aunt B, every time we saw her, she would bug us, come and visit the church I go to, you'll love it. Come and visit, come and visit, come and visit. Finally, Ralph and I got together and we said, we'll go one Sunday just to get it off our back. Well, we were members of that church for 50 years. Because we walked into the first service, we heard a sermon about Jesus. There was an altar call at the end of every service, every week. This church taught me what I was missing. And I got to the point where I thought, I want to accept Jesus, but I could never walk up to the front of the church in front of everybody. I'll wait till after church some week, and I'll go talk to the pastor after church. Well, Jesus didn't want that. He wants us to be open and share that we're doing something. Well, the Sunday came when that altar call came, and there was no way I could not go forward. And it's like everybody disappeared. It didn't matter who was there. There could have been a million people there. All I know was I'm accepting Jesus. And my life has changed so much from them. Eventually, over the years, I taught Sunday school in the church, starting with the nursery kids, and then older and older and older. And eventually, I taught senior high, and even a few work with adults. I became the church poet. I've never liked poetry, never had any interest in it. But all of a sudden, I'd be sitting in church, listening to the sermon, and I'd be writing down a poem, a Christian poem. And one day I showed one of them to somebody. I said, oh, give this to the pastor. We want to put it in the bulletin. And they would put them in the bulletin every week. Well, this was Jesus, because I had no idea to do that. But he was using me to prepare me for something he had for me to do in the future. I was in the choir. As far as I'm concerned, I can't sing, but I was in the choir. I learned sign language, and I actually signed with the choir as they sang. It was awesome. And I ended up, I taught a beginning sign language class for several years. And mostly it was the church members that came to it, but we had some outsiders who were going to school to become nurses and stuff, and they figured it would be a good help as nurses to have at least a little knowledge of sign language. So it was all exciting, and all this was preparing me because I was becoming more and more open, more involved. Jesus, over many years, was preparing me for what he had in mind for me. It got to the point, though, a friend of mine was coming here to CTK, and we'd be talking on the phone. Wednesday night we had our Bible study, and to tell me all about the lesson, and it was so exciting Finally, after a few weeks, I said, would they allow me and Ralph to come even though we go to church somewhere else? She said, sure. And that Wednesday, we started coming. And it was an awesome Bible study. Pastor Bob was leading it. And we got to know some of the people. And after a while, I felt, gee, I'd like to visit that church some Sunday and see if it's as exciting as the Bible study is. So we came one Sunday, and I went back and told my church, I'm leaving. It's been a great 50 years, but I'm being called somewhere else. God was speaking to me. He had plans for me here. One Sunday, I heard a sermon that talked about Adam walking in the garden with God in the cool of the day. And I was thinking, gee, I walk a track every morning after I drop off a kid at school. How about if I ask God to walk with me and talk with me? And I did. And I started, when I get to the track every time, I'd say, Lord, here I am. Come and walk with me. Let's talk. And we did. And there was conversation about all kinds of things. But one morning, as I was walking, all of a sudden, a thing hit my brain. I want you to write a devotional that shows that Jesus is throughout the Old Testament, not just in the New Testament. And I said, whoa, I would need a name for it. And right there was Gospel According to Moses. You want to put that in? I went home, I started studying the life of Moses from the beginning and I'd write down some scriptures and write my Christian thoughts about it. And this is just one of the under the heavy yoke of slavery, people dying, baby boys sentenced to death. Now the Hebrew people remember God and call out to him. How easy it is to forget when things are good, but when trouble hits, hearts turn to God begging for help. They wanted relief now and were angry that it didn't come, but God heard their pleas. He knew the horrible things they were going through. He was preparing the answer. He knew the perfect timing for all to be ready, and they needed to be ready to listen and obey. Are you longing for an answer to prayer? Is your request right in the eyes of God? Then be patient and keep your eyes on him. The perfect answer will come at the perfect time. In this series, there's well over 200 of these that goes through the whole life of Moses and a little bit into Joshua even. After that, I finished that, I started a new one. And I've got quite a few pages of these, and it's all Jesus speaking through me. It did come from me. There's no way I could have done this on my own, but God was there and spoke through me and gave me the words, and it's been an awesome thing. I started out, I showed up to a few of my close friends, church friends and stuff, and people seemed to like them, so I started emailing them to a few people. Well, got a good response. So I kept adding a few more people to the list, a few more people, and they'd show them the different ones, and I'd get messages, put me on your list, put me on your list. It kept growing and growing and growing, and it blows my mind. I have people who get them every day in many parts of Africa, Pakistan, India, Australia, the Philippines, Canada, so many countries. And it blows my mind. I could not have possibly done this on my own. I want to put this. I want to get this in the right order here. Some interesting experiences have come from this. One was a young fellow named Eric in India. He was at that age where he was finishing up his schooling and had to look for a job. Well, he messaged me a couple times and asked questions and started calling me grandma. And it ended up, he took, like so many young people do, he decided to go to the big city where there's more money. He was there for a whole year. He had to sign up for a full year. And over that time, this boy who had always gone to church and was very active in the church, there were no Christian churches anywhere near there, only Muslim churches. So him and a few of the friends he worked with had to have their own little service together. They'd read the Bible and sing a few songs and stuff. He was away from his family. And he would tell me day by day all the things he was doing and what it was like. And it was really interesting. I learned a lot about India and about the people there. And finally, as it came to the end of the year, he said, "Grandma, I'm going home." And he went back home, and he immediately got back to being active in his church, and he's doing real well. So that was quite an experience for me. Another time, I got to speak very briefly to a missionary who was in Iraq. This woman had a dress like Muslim women completely, and they had to watch everything they do. She could only be on the phone with me for a few minutes because if she gets caught, she's dead. She asked me, she said, "Tell people, please pray for us." And I assured her Christians are praying for them. But it reminds me that there are Christians in every single country out there. And I'm finding that more and more. There isn't a country out there where there isn't Christians. They may be hiding, they may be open. In Pakistan, which I've ended up being quite involved with, they're allowed to be Christian, they're allowed to have Bibles, they're allowed to go out and look for people and proselytize, but they cannot speak to a Muslim about Christ. If they do, they'll be put to death. But there are a lot of people in the country that are not Muslim. And the Muslims are finding Christ in other ways. God's taking care of that. So, one day I had a fella who was getting my devotionals for a while, and one day he sent me a message. He said, "Please help us. We are Christians. We're a Christian group. We don't have Bibles. We don't have a church. We're desperate for the word. Help us." This church provided them with 100 Bibles. Awesome. God worked through every one of you who put anything in that jar. And now, you want to put the last picture up? This is some of the group. And they are now working with a minister who knows how to officially start a church, and they're working on getting their own church because there aren't any close by. So, and we do a Bible study. It was on Fridays, now we're doing it on Mondays, a Bible study by video. I can't say enough how much Jesus has amazed me with the things he's done. One of the things that really was a help to me, I'd be sitting at the computer sending out devotionals, and Ralph would say, "I'm really proud of what you're doing." Simple words like that can mean so much. Every person here, God has a plan for you. He has something that he wants you to do. Don't say you can't do it. Of course we can't do it. That's the whole idea. If we were convinced we could do it ourselves, Jesus wouldn't be able to work through us. It has to be that we know we can't. I sure couldn't. I could not have done any of this. It blows my mind. Wow, I don't know how it happened even. But it goes on. But every single one of us needs to remember. All we have to do is say, "Jesus, work through me. I'm opening myself up to you. Use me." And he will. It may not be some of the things I've been doing. It may be simpler things. It may be that smile, that friendly word, that little hug. There's so many ways he wants to use you, but we have to give in and do. As I said, without Jesus, I wouldn't have a testimony. All this he has done through me, I certainly haven't done any of it. I've been in a position in the past where I was dying, and God saved me through a miracle. He's so real. He loves us so much. We need to open up to him. That's all it takes. Lord, I'm willing to let you work through me. Please do. That's my testimony.